Happy Friday to the Crypto ZX family. Thank you so much for tuning in to our daily segment on the market analysis, where we talk about market price action, talk about altcoins, what's going on. And again, give yourself a pat on the back if you're still here, if you're still paying attention. And I see who you are because let's face it, in terms of sentiment, we're seeing a very low amount of, interest on the crypto side of things right now. So the people that are still here, give yourself a pat on the back, and I appreciate you guys for still sticking around and showing tremendous amount of love. One thing I want to keep reminding you guys is, you know, remember there are more important things in life as well. Make sure we are taking care of our health. Make sure we are, taking care of happiness, our family. Those are the most important things. And a reason why I share that is because I think a lot of people overlook that, and including myself. I'm not saying I don't. Like before, I've been in the space for 10 years, like I said. I always round it up to 10 years. Actually, it's going to be in 2026 when it's 10 years, but you guys get the idea. And there were times where I would neglect things that were more important to me. And I want you guys to know markets are not going anywhere. You need to focus on the things that are more important and, be thankful for that. Very, very important in terms of that. And I think that kind of balances out everything. But again, thank you for still being here. Let's take a look at what's happening across the board. You guys can see across the board, we're seeing double digit pullback once again. At this point, you guys should know as to what's happening. Looking at it on a weekly time frame and a monthly time frame, this really gives you a better understanding how much the market has pulled down. But before we get into it any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer for you guys. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So looking at the market valuation, we are sitting below $3 trillion. We're sitting down about 4%, as you can see for yourself. Again, a sea of red across the board. A few coins up. Bitcoin Cash is up right now, but other than that, mainly the entire market is down right now. So let's take a closer look and see what we're looking at. I want you guys to take a look at this. Take a look at this and don't overlook that. Total liquidations yesterday were $2 billion. And when you look at the FTX era and the pullbacks before that, you can see for yourself those numbers look like it's nothing compared to what it's at now. Back then we would be like, "Whoa, that is insane." And now you're seeing these types of liquidations occurring more casually, and especially over the last month and a half, we've seen major liquidation. Obviously, the October 10th one at 10 billion, and of course yesterday at $2 billion. So in terms of fear, as far as the fear and greed index is concerned, we're still in the extreme category. You could see for yourself. And take a look at the last month, take a look at last week, yesterday. Now we're seeing a very similar pattern playing out. So in terms of fear, like I said, there's a lot of fear right now. There's a famous saying, though, be greedy while others are fearful, be fearful while others are greedy. And as I've stated to you guys before on the channel, right now there is two different outlooks on the market in terms of investors that are still here. The ones that are here, they're either really happy or they're not happy at all as to what's happening with the crypto space. But that is obviously normal when it happens, due to these price actions. But let's take a look at this right here, though. And the reason why I point this out is because, again, this is a market analysis update. I want to point this out to give you guys a little bit of a better understanding. Usually I mention this only in my XRP update, but I want you guys to understand this. So as we know, we talk about ETFs, ETF this, ETF that, ETF mania to start. And, we saw XRP finally getting ETFs approved. Solana also, on the other hand, has ETFs approved now, spot ETFs to be specific, which again, in my opinion, is such a historic moment. And I think if this happened either earlier this year or last year, we would have seen, really great price action because that's where the market overall sentiment was great. But what I'm pretty much trying to get at is you could see for yourself just over the last 20, I'm sorry, not last 24 hours, just over today's price action in terms of inflows, just looking at XRP, Bitwise pulled in 21.8 million. And Canary pulled in about $13 million in inflows, total at about $34.7 million in inflows right now that are coming for XRP in this market condition. When you talk about inflows coming in, you need to realize that these inflows are not coming from regular day-to-day traders. It's mainly from institutions that are coming on board. And you guys might be thinking, why are they coming on board right now when the prices are down? Because they're accumulating. And over time, I think we're going to take a look back at it and see, this really become a norm. Right now, there's just a few handful coins that have that ETF. But we're seeing great amount of capital inflows coming into these new assets. Bitcoin and Ethereum, on the other hand, actually have seen a lag if you've been following my channel, while you're seeing Sol and XRP really, gaining that inflow structure. So what I'm trying to get at is people that are accumulating, they're not looking at the next 6 months, 12 months. They're looking at the long haul, and that is, the patience game. That's where that part comes into play. Ask yourself, people that have been accumulating altcoins over the course of the last 2020. I'm sorry, over the last few years, but in 2022 when we were at the bear market, 23 too. And at that time, we were seeing very low amounts of interest as well. And the people that accumulating around that time, there were a lot of negative comments then too, but they're the ones that ended up succeeding when there was so much, fear across the board. They're the ones that ended up, really actually doing good for themselves. And that's something people overlook. But I'm just gonna continue to remind you guys that you got to look at it from a long-term horizon. Obviously, do your due diligence, as I've always said. Always do your research. Very, very important, and diversify your portfolio. I think a lot of people overlook the diversification aspect, and we don't want to be doing that anymore. And this time around, what I want you also suggest is when you are analyzing coins, yes, we have not seen a full-fledged altcoin season, and that is mainly due to Bitcoin dominance. Simple as that. I want you guys to focus on the Bitcoin dominance on the bigger time scale. And let me kind of take you guys down back to memory lane. So, we were sitting at, 41% when the last altcoin season was happening, like, to that level. But obviously, as I stated back then, there were very little amount of coins. Now, there's so many coins out there, it's insanely saturated. But, dominance never really got to that price point. And obviously, last year, look what happened to the dominance when we saw that uptick for the market, 55%, nowhere near as to where we were back in 2021. And that's what people overlook, but we just don't want to be, overlooking that. But with that said, there were still a lot of opportunity out there. There were still a lot of opportunity to be made. I did a poll on my channel just a few days back, asking the community, did you guys end up some people think that we have not seen a bull market. Yes, we have seen a bull market. Look at Bitcoin. How you indicate whether or not we're in a bull market is not every single coin going up. You need to see obviously coins moving. I'm not saying coins don't need to move. You need to see some coins moving. You need to see euphoria coming for some altcoins as well. And I can name a lot of them that did end up seeing that this cycle as well. Just to name a few right now on top of my head: XRP, Solana, BNB. What's another one? BNB, Sui is another one. So Ethereum. Again, Ethereum didn't see crazy amounts of a new all-time high, but it still did end up hitting an all-time high. We need to kind of factor in the ETH to Bitcoin dominance, right? And that wasn't as high as possible. You want to see if ETH dominance against Bitcoin, on a higher scale in order for the price to go up. But still, there were opportunity to be made, and that's why the dominance still remained here. But if you go look at a lot of altcoin charts around this time, you saw some coins, even the coins that are nowhere in the existence of the top 100 now, they went up 6, 7x. So we did see a hint of an altcoin season. That's what people overlook. Opportunity was there, and people that took advantage of it, that took profits along the way. I'm sure you guys are doing quite well for yourself. And again, this is why we talk about Bitcoin. Why do you guys think in on my channel every single day of the week I talk about Bitcoin, 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 because that is a leading indicator of the market. That is the king of the market. You cannot neglect that. If you're looking at the dominance, on the other hand, today though, dominance is actually picking up traction. We're actually pushing towards the upside at 59.11%, as you can see for yourself. Bitcoin, on the other hand, also saw a move back into the 61.8. You could see for yourself we came down to $80,000 Bitcoin price, and that's where that liquidation comes into play yesterday. This wick is due to major liquidation. Again, did not last too long, but if you look at a lot of altcoins, you did see this playing out. But you could see for yourself, we have seen a bounce since then for Bitcoin. Quite a nice bounce. We're currently sitting at $85,200 in the 61.8, but below our $86,000 key resistance. And look for yourself, we actually retested the 86,000, and that's where we got rejected. So far, we have seen this wave completing. And if you were to ask me, as I stated to you guys before on the channel, this wave is done. Market could turn around, and Bitcoin did end up retesting, this 78.6 zone. So if a reversal is in play, you obviously we need to be looking for confirmations. Biggest confirmation for me, of course, isn't the 23.6, but from a reversal standpoint, you need to see the price of Bitcoin reclaiming back above $100,000 at the least. And this time, the reason why I have more confidence, of course, you can't predict the future for sure. You can see market manipulation happening again. You could see major liquidation happening again. Those are things that are not in our control. But you just don't want to see the price drop in below 73,500, as I stated to you guys before, because if that happens, that would be very bearish, to be honest, because this upward cycle just gets invalidated. But nonetheless, if the price of BTC is able to get back up to the 100,000 range this time around, the reason why I have more confidence, in my opinion, is because the wave is completed. It just was not sitting well with me that we saw 33% or 31% pullback these two times. This time around, we were still bouncing around the 102, 107, and still did not complete this wave. That's where my confidence was coming in, that no, I'm not buying this move, this bounce. I am content with this price action around this key level, and that's where my overall targets are. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So I personally think, Bitcoin is very close to, its consolidation. But again, you don't want to see the price drop in, and that's where our eyes should be on. We could come even up to, I'm sorry, we can even come up to $75,000 as long as the price does not drop below our low on April, which was our April low. We are good. So that's why we got to take it day by day. From an opportunity standpoint, it's right in front of us. You guys can see for yourself on a weekly time frame, monthly time frame. Definitely a big opportunity out there for long-term accumulators. During these times, time and time out, when you see major corrections, when there's so much fear, you do tend to see eventually the good days do come back if you do pick the right coins, of course. Let me know in the comments what you guys personally think. Do you guys agree with the overall take? What are your overall projections? Right now, the price of Bitcoin at 85,200. We got to take a step by step, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Make sure you guys are having your bell icon on so you're notified every time we upload. And you know, this segment is something I want to keep pushing on a day-to-day basis. So I would love to have you guys come on board. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you later. Been Crypto ZX, and peace out.